Hey crafty people, Ashley here for another episode of Make It with Ashley. And today I am excited to announce my first collaboration video with the Coast to Coast collaboration. So today is featuring Christmas cards, and my technique is going to be talking about using the embossing folder. Right? This thing is fabulous. For just $10, you get the embossing folder and two matching stencils. So I started by embossing, then I simply line up my stencil. I am grabbing my Scarlet ink with one of my blending sponges, and I am just inking on top of my embossed image, right? It is such an easy way to color. Now, there are two stencils that coordinate with this, and this is me bringing in, this is actually New England Ivy. It's one of the colors that just recently retired. However, it's very similar to the new pine color that was released. But you can see how easy it is. So I decided to play. All right. So first time was just ink. My second time, I am starting with some Versamark ink, and I am going to heat emboss these little gold, sprigs. So the berries, I guess you could say. So that worked out pretty well. I simply kind of tapped and pressed the Versamark ink down in there. I wasn't sure if I dragged it, if I'd catch part of the stencil, because it is that spongy ink block texture. But it worked out great, just kind of tapping it up and down until I covered it. Did get a little messy on the fingers. When that one was heat set, then I simply went in with my second stencil and was able to add some more of my New England Ivy. But I thought that was a fun look, so then I decided to do kind of a blue version of this. And here you can clearly see how I was dabbing with that Versamark ink. I am covering it with my silver embossing powder, and I use my tweezers to help kind of pick up the corner of that and see how quickly this heat sets, and it really adds just kind of a fun shine. Now the silver is a little bit more of like a tone on tone when I put it on this mist paper. So I wanted to kind of bring in some blue, so I grabbed my Sapphire for a high contrast color on those leaves, and it really felt it made a good pop. Now this one, I made a point to have a little bit of variation, so I had some heavier and some lighter patches, and I liked the way that kind of looked and felt and add an extra dimension to it. So my next one, I grabbed Sapphire cardstock, went ahead and used my embossing folder on it, and then I was going to use my texture paste, but apparently it wasn't sealed quite all the way, and it is dry as a bone. So I grabbed out my Stickles glitter gel. This is the Moon Dust color that I am simply using my spatula, scraping over on top of my stencil, and it is a wow factor. It is hard to see it on camera, but I will say that Moon Dust glitter gel, it almost looks like frost on those tree branches. So it is super cute. I'll show you a picture at the end of the video. So I wanted to show how I put together this card. I actually ended up cutting down my pieces of paper that I used to 4x4 for some of them. What I did on this one is I actually just cut it 1/8 of an inch smaller, so I'd get just that hair of that red scarlet paper showing around the edge. That is mounted on some New England Ivy, and then for my sentiment, I am using the Merry Christmas, which comes from the Christmas Snowflake Mandalas. That is the November stamp of the month, which means if you place a $50 order on my website, you can get this stamp set for just $5. And that is only available during the month of November. I'll make sure to link that into the information below in case you're interested in getting that. So this is the small bow thin cut, which I absolutely adore. I did have a little bit of struggle when I was using the glitter paper, and my liquid glass was not even holding the glitter on glitter. So I ended up going to foam tape, and that kept my small bow thin cut together no problem. Last finishing touch is I wanted some other sparkle besides my Heat Embossed Merry Christmas, so I grabbed my Stickles goldenrod and just added some of the dots that were not on the sprigs themselves. And I loved how it turned out. So I was on a roll and I was starting to feel rather creative. So I'd been tidying up my craft room earlier in the day, and I was putting away some of my shaker foam and acetate, and an idea popped in my head. Can you emboss acetate? Like, what would happen, right? And it worked. I was super jazzed. You get this really cool pattern just kind of etched into your card. Now, it doesn't show up very well on camera, but in person, it's this neat kind of subtle effect. It's still clear, so you can easily see through it, but now it has a pattern. Now, the only thing is, it was too plain. Like, I did the whole card, so I had to come up with something else. It wasn't going to work with the design I'd used on literally all the other cards. Now, I still had the Christmas Snowflake Mandalas set out, so I was like, oh, how pretty would this be? I could stamp it, you could color it, and then you could see it through. So then you'd have the mandala, which with a simple Merry Christmas, and then you'd have this textured clear acetate and then a frame. I did play with the stitched rectangle frame and then the postage frame. However, the postage frame was just a little too small and it didn't quite work with the foam tape. So I wanted to color this image so it would really pop, so I grabbed my dark red blends, Spectrum Noir marker, and also the Alpine Green blends marker. I really felt like this added the perfect touch. Now I wanted to have that negative space with the white and the red, so I only colored certain parts, and I really thought it just made the card. So up next is tossing in my foam tape and then hitting it with my anti-static pouch. I dug out some of my Christmas sequins from my stash, glued down the frame, and it was done. I love how the cards turned out. So this card I used the gold embossing powder along with gold glitter paper for the bow. That one is just simply inked in Scarlet and New England Ivy. This one was fun. You emboss on Scarlet paper, and then I took sandpaper to kind of rub away that top layer and reveal it. That blue one's the one I used that Stickles Moon Dust glitter gel on, along with silver embossing paper. That second blue one is silver embossing with Scarlet ink. The next one you saw, that's that fun one where I embossed on the acetate paper itself. And then the last one is going to be the one I actually showed you in the video, where again I am inking it with New England Ivy and the Sapphire, nope, Scarlet. Sorry, I keep wanting to say Sapphire. That's that blue color I used. But the Scarlet along with the bow. I really felt like this was a fun, easy card to make. If you do not have the Holly embossing folder and stencil, it is one I would highly recommend getting. Here are some close-ups. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, and also check all of the other videos in the playlist from the Coast to Coast collaboration for some other fun Christmas card ideas. Let me know in the comments which card was your favorite. And as always, craft on.